All right, we're rolling. What's going on? Welcome to Talking Buffalo, part of the Blue Wire Network. Thank you for tuning in, audio, video. I am Patrick Moran. I am joined as always for my Tuesday show by my good friend, noted hockey creator, author, podcaster, sports media personality, my friend Joe Yerdon. What's up, buddy? How you doing, man?
Doing good, Pat. Doing good. It's been some fun times lately, dude. It's been a little busy on my end, which is nice. Even though the Sabre season has ended, it's been busy for lots of other stuff. Although, I don't know, I think some of the breaks just got thrown on thrown on the other night, thanks to the rivals to the north. But yeah, it's been good, man.
That's cool, man. I gotta warn you now, and indulge me for like 4 to 5 minutes. All right, this has got
Okay.
nothing to do with sports. We are going to talk plenty of Sabres like we always do. Today's topic is um might the Sabres go big game hunting at goalie? There's a specific goalie that was written about today. We're taping this Monday. I kind of want to get your thoughts and break that down as well. Maybe some Bills talk. We debuted a segment last week called Make You Choose, where I give you two options related and I force you to choose one or the other here. We'll get to all that stuff in just a few minutes. I got to tell you, though, I'm doing something right now that I have never, literally in my life, 52 years now, I've been alive. I have never fasted in my life, ever.
Oh,
And I am attempting to do something right now that's kind of a lot of people think I tweeted about it and they said I'm nuts. My friend John, a good buddy, I got to throw a shout out to my buddy John. He did a fast, and this is an extreme one, last week, Monday through the end of Friday, 120 hours, 5 days, literally nothing except water. That's it. No dark coffee, no nothing, no food, nothing except a straight up water for 5 days, 120 hours. Take in the morning, you take an electrolyte pill, like a couple, multivitamin pills. So you get some of
yeah.
your nutrients in your first glass of water. You put some pink Himalayan salt in there and you kind of mix it up, get a little bit of nutrients with that as well. But yeah,
Okay.
man, 5 days. He completed it. I wanted to see if he could do it first. He did it. He said the first 2 days were really, really hard. And then
Hmm.
it got it kind of in a zone and it got easier actually, but he did it 5 days, lost 12 and a half pounds in 5 days. That's crazy. Now, let me say this, Joe. My primary motivation for doing this extreme fast is I do want to drop some pounds, man. I'm not going to try to deny that, but it's
With you
more
there.
than just that. This is also supposed to be about, and I read the article that he gave me. It's
Mhm.
kind of like healing your mind and your body a little bit, doing this extreme fast, kind of resetting your mind, resetting your body. My biggest thing isn't like how much I weigh when I get on the scale, how like my lifestyle is when it comes to food and to drink. And quite frankly, it's terrible. It really is. Not drinking like alcohol.
Yeah.
I go out maybe once a week. Saturdays is like my day to maybe throw back a couple with the boys.
Hmm.
That's about it, you know. Besides that, I'm not out drinking and hanging out, stuff like that. It's just the day to day. I drink an excessive amount of Diet Coke. Like I drink more Diet Coke than Donald Trump drank in the White House. You know what I mean? He was
You
famous
drink
for
more
that
than
time.
Mike Francesa did when he was on the
Yes,
air.
yes.
Oh man.
Probably. No jokes. And this is kind of, well, I'll call myself out here. I probably drink close to a 2 liter a day on average of Diet Coke per day.
Hot.
I shove junk food in my mouth all the time. I'm like a binge eater. Like I'll be good. I'll wake up in the morning. I'll be like, I'm gonna have a good day, and I'll start out good. I'll eat a good breakfast, good lunch, healthy stuff. But once it gets like post dinner, I just become an animal. I shove everything in my mouth, man. It's just any piece of junk I can find in there:
Mhm.
chocolate, chips, cookies, whatever. I work part time in a restaurant, which makes it even worse because I have access to some free good food,
Yep.
and it makes it worse. So anyway, I'm just trying to reset myself right now. I'm trying to do this extreme thing, and then I'm gonna have a fun weekend, and then I'm gonna kind of transition into no more pop. I want the pop, like this is a one-time thing. The pop I want to be permanent. No more soda, no more
Mhm.
pop at all. Because again, I just can't do anything in moderation, which is my biggest problem.
Yeah.
Junk food's fine when you do it in moderation. I just don't do anything in moderation.
Hmm.
Hence why I'm doing an extreme fast instead of just doing 1 or 2 days. But I don't know, bro. We're taping this Monday. I'm only like 7 hours in. I'm not worried about being hungry. I got a baby bladder as it is. I told you I might not make it through the
Yeah.
show without having to pee. It's the caffeine withdrawals that I'm worried about, the headaches that I know I'm going to get because I
Yep.
drink so much pop. And when I'm not drinking pop, like I'll go through stretches where I don't drink pop for a couple days or maybe even a week. I drink coffee, lots of coffee, and I'm not doing. You can't have any coffee either. So I don't know, man. I might be. Well, we're taping this early enough. If we tape this late tonight, I might have been really irritable with you. Like you said something, I'd be like, "What, Joe? What the fuck you say?" So,
Dude, that whole thing with like the electrolyte supplements and things like that, because I used to use these like thirst multiplier or like hydration multiplier, sorry, thirst multiplier. I don't need more reasons to drink more water or whatever. I used to use these things though, especially when I was laid up after surgery, because I was like, well, it's hot as hell out. It's the end of July, August. Like I just not doing anything physical. It's like, well, I got to keep drinking water. And I figured, well, these things will make it better. What I didn't realize was that these things have 20 to 30% of your daily allowance of sodium in them. Like each packet had it, and I was like dumping these things in like 2 at a time in like a 30, like in this mug here, like 32-ounce mug. And I was doing these things like 2 at a time because it's supposed to be like, one for a 16-ounce bottle, 2 for 30, like whatever. And I was doing these things, and then I noticed my like legs were swelling up, my feet were swelling up. I'm like, what the hell's this about? Like, what's wrong with me now? Like, what's happening? And my doctor goes like, what's your sodium intake like? And I was like, I don't know, it must be fine. And I was going through it, and I was like, I haven't changed my diet, I haven't done anything. So I finally looked at the label of these things and saw how much sodium was in this, and I'm like, oh. Well, I'm done with that now. So, like, whatever was in the cupboard, I just threw it right in the garbage. I was like, I ain't taking this anymore. And then, within a couple of weeks, everything was basically back to normal. Doctor was like, hey, so how did everything go? And I go, yeah, it turns out I was basically eating a truckload of sodium every day, drinking a truckload of sodium every day, because it was like, it's supposed to be like healthy, like electrolytes, whatever. But like, you're supposed to be working out. Like you're losing the salt when you sweat them out, like whatever. I was only sweating because I was sitting in my hot ass apartment and just like high on pain pills. Like that's all the sweating I was doing. I wasn't doing any working out. I was just, doped up and high. But man, like that change for me was like, it's so hard to like just flip a switch and just go with it.
But you're good with drinking water. Like every week when we have this show, you're constantly drinking water. See, I literally never drink water. If you watch this show, I always have a mug. And it's like not visible. It's not clear. Like you have a water bottle that you're using right now. My shit's always got pop in it. Always. Or Crystal Light, which is better than pop, but it's not ideal.
Mostly water. I mean, it probably doesn't have sodium in it. I don't think that stuff has sodium.
No, but it's got like that fake sugar, like sucralose stuff like that. So I mean, and again, I do things excessively. So when I'm not trying to drink pop, I'll drink 4 cups of coffee with 0 sugar in it, but still too much coffee and too much and again, I can't stop myself from getting in these bad eating habits. So anyway, I'm trying really hard to do this. And part is to drop some. Look, if I can lose 10 pounds right away, I know as soon as you eat, like these extreme diets work, like you lose 12 pounds immediately. And then you have 2 meals and now all of a sudden you gain 6 of it back. I get that. So, but if I can net lose 5 or 6 out of this, but more importantly, just get into a better habits now, maybe 5 days of no pop and just eating better. My goal is to like be good during the week, like intermittent fast during the week going forward, not 5 days in a row. I'm just talking about, just on a day for, eat for 6-7 hours a window, whatever, and then enjoy the weekends. That's my goal, man. I'm finally starting to take my shit serious. I actually went outside today. It's a okay spring day out.
Yeah.
It's May 15th. It should be goddamn nicer. But anyway, I actually I don't know if you can see this on here. You can't see it well, but on my phone, if you're watching on the video side, I took a picture of my street. I got a nice long street, and I actually walked up and down the street with earbuds on, listening to music. First form of any kind of exercise I probably have gotten like literally in weeks, if not months. But anyway, I'm doing that shit. I did tweet about it, and I'm kind of getting, I don't want to say dragged a little bit on Twitter, but certainly people are like, that's extreme. That's nuts. People are like, 1-2 days, 3 max, whatever. Try to
Yeah.
do 5. We'll see what happens.
People are natural born haters. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
What you're doing is,
It is extreme. I'm
it's
only doing it one time too. I'm trying.
the fact that your buddy lost 12 pounds, what, a week, 2
Yeah.
weeks, a month, or whatever it was.
No, 5 days.
5 days. Jesus.
5 days. He lost 12.6 pounds. And John's not like me. I'm a chunky dude, man. I got a big belly, neck, face. John's a pretty fit guy to begin with, and he still lost 12.6 pounds. And again, he did it. He told me too. He said he did it more again, it's like kind of like resetting just your mind, and you start to realize the emotional dependency that we all have on eating. It's kind of like an emotional reaction, something when you eat a lot of things.
Yeah.
And he said going those 5 days kind of like reset a lot of things for him. And he feels really good so far anyway. And again, I'm only 7-8 hours in and I'm ready to strangle someone, but
yeah, thing with that, like they always, it's always said that if you lose a lot of weight early on that, like that, they're like, well, it's water weight. You're basically just unloading the water, which I'm like, well, if you're putting in gallons of water every day, yeah, you're going to, you're going to be like adding water weight and then putting it off. But putting like, pink Himalayan rock salt into the water, and
that's only once a day in the morning.
There's so many parts to that. It just seems like nonsense to me.
I agree.
I mean, listen, any of these, like anything that's like promising a quick change, something to like kind of give you an ego boost, like whatever. I mean, maybe it's okay in the meantime for your mind, where you're just kind of like, all right, we're making progress here. But then the second you eat like a normal dinner, and then you're back up 5 pounds, and you're like, what the hell? What's going on here? Like, your body's going through a giant shock to the system that you're like not eating anymore, and you're just drinking water and adding salt and stuff. And then your body's like, oh, we're eating again. Okay, well, let's add everything, like put everything right back on, because
I agree. It's just a little, if your only goal is to try to cut quick weight, it's just a short-term little Band-Aid, and that's it. And it's going covering up a wound. That's a long-term. You have to eat better over the long term, or exercise more, do little, whatever you got to do to consistently, lose some weight and keep it off. You can't just do this little quick thing. It's more than just that too. Last thing on this topic too. I also feel like it's a mental challenge. Like I know my friend did it, so I know it could be done. You know what I mean? And it's like kind of like mentally, can I do something when it gets hard? When I want to eat, I want to cave. I want to dump this water in the sink, and I want to, go grab a Diet Coke or a drink of Crystal Light or something like that, or a big cup of coffee. It's kind of like the mental. Physically, I'll be all right. It's like mentally, am I strong enough to be able to do this? So I'm kind of testing the limits in a radical way, I guess, too, with myself. But I don't know, man. We'll see how it turns out. I've never even tried anything like this before. My goal, like I said, is to drop a couple pounds and just lead into future better overall eating habits. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I like that you're approaching it from a nutrition diet sort of standpoint, because I'm now at the age, and my body is disgusting. Like I know people are gonna hear that and be like, no, be nice to yourself. I'm like, no, I am being nice to myself, actually. But like I'm now in that targeted ad group on like Facebook or Instagram where it's like, I mean, let's be honest now, I'm 44. So there's that going into it, middle age crisis, all that nonsense. Sure. But now I'm getting shown these ads where it's like, it's for some workout app where it's like easy, lazy workouts for dudes. And then you've got some dude on there who's like the most ripped Santa Claus you've ever seen in your life, doing all these things. And like, this guy's got like a 12-pack, never mind 6-pack abs. He's got like a 12-pack. The guy's a freak. Like, good for him. Awesome. He's like, however old. I mean, the guy's got the whitest beard I've ever seen in my life, but like, hanging out tan and shirtless in his house, just doing like these workouts. And they're like, in 30 days, you could lose tons of weight. And I'm like, guys, I know just doing these simple ass workouts is not going to do the job.
Right.
Like I know, like if it was, you would not be able to get me on the show anymore, because I would just be on the floor in my apartment doing dumb, stupid workouts all the time. Because if it was that easy of a fix, boom, buddy, I'm in. Like I am in and I am ready to go, but it's not.
No, it's not.
Also, like, because I get curious, so I got to check out, okay, what's this app about? Like, what's going on with this thing? And it goes through this whole thing. It's like, oh, okay, here's your weight. Here's what you're doing. Here's what it is, blah, 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 blah. You get through it and you're like, okay, here's your workout program. Pay $89.99 a month to find out what it is. I'm like, no, guys, I'm not paying you $100 a month to tell me to do like 3 crunches for 30 seconds, like 3 sets of crunches for 30 seconds a day. No, I'm not doing that, guys. That's not how this is going to go. I think I could figure that out on my own, which if I did, maybe I'd do it, but I don't have the mental capacity to do it. So forget it.
This is hilarious, man. But yeah, look, drop a couple pounds, feel a little bit better. It's part of it's vanity. I'm not going to lie, but also part of it is I want to feel better. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But anyway, it's enough diet talk with middle-aged fat guys, Pat and Joe here. Let's so we're taping this on May 15th. By the way, it's my mother's birthday, so I should probably wish my mom a happy birthday. Not like she's going to be listening to this anyway. But
you never know. 2
anniversaries on this date, May 15th. One of them cool. One of them probably not so cool if you're a Sabres fan anyway. If you're not a Sabres fan, you probably would get a good kick out of it. First, the cool one, and I didn't know this until actually just minutes before we sat down to tape this show. Today, May 15th, is the 25-year anniversary of the series finale of Seinfeld.
Oh, wow.
25 years has been since that show ended. And time flies sometimes. When you think of time in that way, doesn't it feel like it just freaking flies? A quarter of a century ago was the finale of Seinfeld. Nuts, ain't it?
It is, because I remember exactly where I was.
Do you?
Yes, I was like right at the end of my freshman year of college in North Adams, Massachusetts, and myself and like a couple of my buddies were like all about watching it. And then we watched, and the whole next day we just bitched about it. We're just like, what was that? Like, what's going on? And it turned into like this whole like lunchtime, like for a week straight discussion, talking about like, well, what was going on with this? Like, but like more in the frame of mind of like, wow, they brought back all of these people to basically dump on everybody. And it was like, wow,
that was awesome.
Cool. But also like, I don't get it. Like that wasn't the way it should end. And then, that was like the precursor to having like a series finale. It's over with, that everybody will still talk about for ages. Like, I don't know if people are still talking about it now, but like, it was like in the moment, you're just kind of like, really, they're getting set up for this? Like, okay, like I guess. But then, when you look back at the whole series, you're like, yeah, no, this makes complete sense.
It makes sense for the show, for the way most series, if it ended that way, you'd be like, come on, seriously. You know what's funny? Well, it's true too. Honest to God, dude, I didn't watch Seinfeld much when it actually originally aired in the 90s. I was not a big fan of it. Jerry Seinfeld annoyed me. I thought the other cast was good. Like, I always loved Elaine. I loved George. I didn't like Jerry, though, at the time, and I watched it very sporadically. Like, I knew of the show. I watched a little bit here and there. It just it never really grew on me at the time. It wasn't until, in fact, when I was in Florida over these last 5 years, I think it was like maybe 2019 or 2020, one of those 2 years, I actually finally binged it from start to finish. And I'm like, wow, it's one of the greatest shows I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And even though it's like, it's dated, not as much dated as like Cheers is, where we kind of talked about this briefly last week during that Make Me Choose segment. Cheers just doesn't even seem watchable anymore because it seems so old school. Just the way people behaved and everything. Seinfeld feels more modern now. Like maybe 20 might be a little bit younger, but mid 20s, early 30s, I think you can sit there and binge this right now and really enjoy it. Where you ain't doing that with Cheers. Well, at least I don't think you are anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel too
greatest hits of Cheers. I think you could. I think if you did the whole thing, that's right. A lot of episodes. That's a lot of TV to watch. So it might wear you out, but like a greatest hits, like compilation of Cheers episodes. Yeah. I think you could 100% watch that and be fully satisfied. Seinfeld, I think you could watch the entire thing. There's only like a handful of episodes where it's just kind of like, I don't need to watch that one anymore. For Seinfeld, I think there's way more episodes where you could watch it and just be like, oh man, this one. Oh man, this one. You're just going like that forever.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. Have you watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? Have you been a fan of that show? Mm-hmm. Okay. I've compared Seinfeld to It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia in one way. And this is why I think Seinfeld is, like, some people might say it's a regular network sitcom and it's not innovative at all. Mm-hmm. I kind of disagree, because if you think about it, there's 4 friends, and what do they always do? they basically treat each other like shit, right?
Yeah.
Like they always throw each other under the bus.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they treat each other kind of like shit, like they're friends, but it's like, yeah. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is like much more radical and, you know, and adult oriented and modern. Right. Much more evil and shit like that. But I'm saying, you know, it's that group and, you know, they're some, well, brother, sister with D or whatever and Frank. But point being is they're friends and they completely treat each other like shit all the time. And I kind of feel like Seinfeld kind of set that bar when it comes to comedies for like an ensemble of friends that just weren't good to each other, you know?
Yeah. No, it's a weird comparison because Sonny is just such a
Raunchy
left field. Like it's raunchy, it's mean,
Sure.
it's mean spirited a lot of the time. It's kind of nasty, kind of gross other times. Like just a lot of it is just kind of like, oh man, these guys suck. Like especially anything that Dennis does is just like that guy. Like he's what a piece of shit.
I love that show though.
Oh my god, it's done in such a way that you can take none of it seriously.
Right.
Like you can take zero parts of that. Not that any comedy you can take seriously, but at least it has to be grounded in some semi sort of reality. Sonny is not in any way, like shape or form is that grounded in reality. Seinfeld, at least you can like, I mean, you know, the fact that Jerry's a stand-up comedian living in a giant apartment in New York City is kind of like, I don't know, man. I don't know how it works. Or, you know, Newman living in a giant apartment as a postman, you know, like all that stuff.
Right.
But like the real world stuff aside from that, like, you know, the stuff at the time, at least Seinfeld, you could be like, yeah, I could see people being like this. Sonny, no way. No shot, man. No. Like if you had a group of friends that treated each other like that, somebody's getting murdered.
Yeah.
At least one person's getting murdered.
Yeah. Or you don't take any pride in yourself because you let your friends, you know, treat you that way. But yeah, man, that's a significant anniversary. Again, Seinfeld being one of the biggest, most popular TV sitcoms of all time. That's one anniversary. Sports related. Probably going to bring back bad memories for Sabres fans for damn sure. But on this date, as we take this May 15th, just 4 years ago, the Buffalo Sabres, not fired, the Buffalo Sabres hired Ralph Kruger to be head coach. 4 years ago on this date. I don't know if, you know, I want to ask you, does it feel like it's been that long? Does it feel like it's been a decade ago? Does it feel like it's been yesterday? I don't know how to digest this information, man. But it's like, I do remember, I'm not going to lie, you know, it's easy to play armchair quarterback now. I was relatively excited about the hiring at the time. Obviously, it was an utter disaster. Yeah, bro. 4 years ago today, Joe.
Man, that's in the perfect time frame of recent happenings of stuff, you know, world life wise, where it happened very recently, but feels like it was 20 years ago. You know, like that whole time, and it was 2019 to like spring 2021. That's how long he was around for, and it feels like it was an eternity ago. But then you think about it, and it's like, oh right, yeah, it was St. Patrick's Day 2021 where he got fired, and you're like, oh, that's barely 2 years ago. That feels like it was ages ago. Like everything about, I mean, time slowed down for a good part of that. Like, you know, the month of March in 2020 lasted about 9 months, you know, in everybody's frame of mind. But like that whole thing, like, I mean, I remember that time. I remember writing, you know, and this is me feeling bad for Phil Housley on the back end of this, feeling bad for Phil because we all knew he was getting fired. But he, you know, they let him, you know, they played it out. And me writing a story for The Athletic, looking at people who might take over for him while Phil's still coaching the team. So I felt like an ass for doing that.
Sure.
And then I think it was at some point, either right before or right after that, where Phil called the Sabres soft in a post-game press conference. And then it's like, well, start printing up the pink slip now because he's out. But then, like, looking over, like, I think back to that list of coaches on there, and I remember I threw Ralph on that list. Ralph was one of the coaches I put on there because his name always got thrown into stuff. His name always got mentioned because he got a raw deal in Edmonton.
I remember.
And I was like, why not? Like, he's outside the box. They need an outside the box guy. They've been going, you know, kind of backlogging and picking up some of the old, you know, retread guys, but thinking back, they didn't really do that too much. really? Because like Phil wasn't a retread guy; he was a new first-time head coach. But they needed somebody who was a different thinker, and then Ralph was definitely a different thinker. Turns out he was a different thinker for all the wrong reasons, and it just didn't like that. I mean, his first year with them seemed like, hey, maybe there's something that's going to happen here, and then the second year was everything. All wheels on every car of that train came off, and it just careened off a mountain. Like it's remarkable. It's crazy to think though that was 4 years ago. It
Crazy.
really feels like it was 100 years ago.
There was a point, and by the end of Kruger's tenure in Buffalo, you were regular on this show. I mean, I was having you on
Yeah.
a lot, and I vividly remember that probably in my lifetime of being a sports fan of like, I got my teams.
Mhm.
I'm the Bills. I'm a Bills fan. I'm a Sabres fan. I'm a Notre Dame guy, a Yankee guy. And I'm a Knicks guy. Those are like my
Mhm.
5 teams. I have never, ever in my life hated a team more than I hated the Buffalo Sabres
It's true.
by the end of the Ralph Kruger era. I mean, I literally despised them. I hated them.
You were
I
spitting
try.
venom every time we talked. You're like, all right, we got to talk Sabres.
I
Just
wanted to
tell
trade
me
the
what's
who
going on. And then you just like walk away from the microphone.
Yeah, I
Like, I
did.
don't want to hear it.
I I hated them so much. I really did. I wanted to trade them so bad for an NBA franchise. I'm not gonna lie though, I still might do that even today, and I like the Sabres again. But anyway, yeah, it was
You only
just
say that because the Knicks we're doing pretty well for a bit.
yeah, the next one. Now I was gonna say if there was ever an organization or a time, I should say, that would rival how I felt about the Sabres with Kruger, it's a couple years with Dolan owning the Knicks, who I still think is the worst owner maybe in all of sports, except for Snyder, who's just selling the team, so he's going to be out soon. But anyway, yeah, that's just man, it just feels like sometimes it feels to me like it was a long time, like way more than 4 years ago. But then there's other times it feels like I had you on the show 6 months ago and we were talking about how bad Ralph Kruger was. It's just unbelievable the stunning that he did in the progress of guys like Skinner, what he did to Skinner and the development of Rasmus Dahlin. It's just
Mhm.
it's almost hard to fathom right now
Yeah.
that
It's funny,
ugh.
funny Ralph. Well, it's not funny. I mean, but a Ralph related note. We all knew that he came over from being a chairman for Southampton soccer. Like everybody's like, oh, soccer guy coming to do hockey. Never mind that he did hockey all before that, but like, oh, soccer guy coming here to do that, blah. And I remember at that time trying to talk to people at Southampton because I was with the Athletic, and I was like, let's find what's the deal with Ralph? Let's find out. Let's get an idea. And nobody at Southampton wanted to talk about him. Like literally no one. I talked to our Southampton correspondent, and he was just kind of like, he's like, listen, I'm trying to help you out, but like they're not going to give anything up. And I'm like, it's a little weird. Why would they do that? And then it turns out, looking back, that there were some stories that were around that basically it read like Ralph was in this. Here's a deep Simpsons reference. He read like he was Lyle Landley trying to sell the monorail to Springfield, where it was everything that he said about Southampton was almost word perfect for what he was saying about the Sabres. Fast forward to now, this past weekend, I think it was this past weekend, Southampton is going to be relegated to the second league in England. Now, this is many years after the fact, but that starting with that management under Ralph, things went sideways very fast. Now, ownership changed, all this other stuff changed with them, but like that was the point where things started to go down the mountain for Southampton. Now, like they've been in Premiership for like 20 years or whatever it is. But now they're down. Now they're going down. Like they're the first team to go down out of the Premier League this year. And it was like, well, Ralph's fingerprints all over that one because holy shit. And it's like Sabres, I mean, not that Sabres were ever going to get relegated, but like they were in bad shape. They were in really bad shape when they let him go. Everybody wanted off the team and everybody wanted out. And look where things changed now. So just think, Sabres fans, it could have actually been way worse.
All right, I am back with Joe Yerdon from Noted Hockey, which, by the way, I finally learned after you've had this, after you've had a Noted Hockey for quite a while now, that you don't actually have to type Substack in if you want to go right there. Just notedhockey.com. That will do. Go check it out. $5 a month. Can't beat that. All right, so there's I don't want to call it a rumor yet, but the Athletic put out something on Monday, and I wanted to discuss this with you. It appears the Buffalo Sabres, at least potentially, might go big game goalie hunting. Michael Russo and someone else put this out, and I apologize, Eric. So I can't remember who the other person was.
Eric Duhatschek. Yes.
Yes, that is him, Eric. They put out a piece about, potential players that might be traded, and Connor Hellebuyck was one of them. And I want to read again for people who are listening to this on audio. I got it up on the video side. This is an excerpt from the article. It says Hellebuyck is one of the NHL's few true number one workhorse goalies. He won the Vezina in 2020 and is a finalist again. How much is he going to want on a long-term deal? Currently making $6.16 million. He can command $9 million plus on the open market. Can the Jets stomach that? If he becomes available, don't be surprised if Buffalo and New Jersey take big swings. One thing we've heard early this offseason is that the Sabres have interest in Hellebuyck with the belief that a genuine number one goaltender could be the last remaining piece in turning them into contenders. Getting one would also allow them to hold off on turning the reins over to Devin Levi until he's proven to be NHL ready. The Jets would want young team-controlled assets in exchange, and the Sabres have plenty of those, from a youngish goaltender in Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen to promising talents like Peyton Krebs and even Casey Middlestat. That's the excerpt. It feels like a lot to digest. This guy's he's an 8-year veteran, 7 years as a full-time starter. He's going to be turning 30 years old actually later this week. So he's 29. He's turning 30 this week. Like the article mentioned, he's a Vezina finalist this year. Probably not going to win this year, but great stats this year. He did win it in 2020, and he finished in the top 4 another time as well. 1 year left on his deal. What are your thoughts? Let me start there. What are your thoughts when you read this from a Sabres perspective? And you know how national people are compared to local. You are in that locker room every single day during the season. Does it seem like something on the surface to you that could make sense?
Yes, it does. Looking for a number one goalie is something that Kevin Adams has kind of done the last few years. You look back at, was a couple of years ago, he had some interest in John Gibson in Anaheim, and this is before, I don't know if that was before or right after he had acquired Levi in the the trade with Florida. Even at that point, you're just kind of like, well, he's 7th round goalie, like, whatever. We still need a guy for the future. Now, I know the catch here is that everybody loves Levi. Everybody's anticipating he's going to be the guy, which I believe the team also agrees with that. The problem is that this team's got to be a playoff team next year. They have to. Like, they finished 2 points out of it this year. You got to be in there next year. You've built on all this stuff. So you need a guy that absolutely can take you further and perform better than, everybody else did last year. Which I know the snarky reply is like, well, anybody could do that. I know, I get it. But Hellebuyck is a number one with a bullet. He's an elite goaltender, an elite goalie. He's the work he's done in Winnipeg with some teams that either couldn't score or they defended really well and then couldn't score on top of that, and kind of forced him to give up fewer than 2 goals a game for them to be able to get by, and also play 65 games a season, which is it's a lot of action. It means if you look at the way Winnipeg closed out the season, he had to carry them on their shoulders the last few weeks to get them back into the playoffs. They were really high up in the standings. They were fighting for first place in that division for a long time. And then Hellebuyck hit a wall because he had to play every game. He had to play every game. The backup was marginal at best. So you couldn't rely on him.
Play like 64 games he started this year.
So it's 64 probably 64 games, I imagine. I don't think he came in to take over, jump in for replace the backup. But so that's a lot of games. It's a lot of games. Goalies don't play that many games nowadays usually. But he's had to, because they didn't have a shot to win if he wasn't playing. That's going to be a little different if he goes to Buffalo, because Buffalo can score. Now, I think the catch there is that how well will he do in a system that's a lot more wide open than what they played at Winnipeg? I think that's a fair question to ask, because Rick Bowness' system is really defensive, extremely defensive. But I don't know. I don't care about much of that to say the least, because this guy's it. Like he can get it done. He's great. He's a great goaltender, and it changes the position from one where you're like, I don't know how this is going to go next year, to being like, we got a guy. You feel good about the position at that point. Like, you're not even thinking about it. You're just kind of like, all right, who's our defenseman that's going to jump into the mix? Like, you stop thinking about goaltending if you add him. Like, it's no longer a worry. It's no longer a concern. And it suddenly becomes an area of wealth because Levi's going to be your backup. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Levi and Hellebuyck would be a pretty damn good tandem. I mean, again, assuming Levi hits where he's supposed to hit. But like, it tells me that the Sabres don't want to throw everything on Levi's shoulders, which is smart. I've said this from the get-go. I know you want him to be the number one. You want him to be the guy for the future. I get that. You can't throw it all on him right now when you have to make the playoffs next year. I know people are going to be like, well, if they get close and, whatever, like if they get 95 points and just missed out, blah, blah, blah. Like, you can say that in the offseason, but then when the reality hits you, you can be like, why didn't they make it? And people were that way this year and they weren't supposed to make the playoffs. So, I mean, Hellebuyck would change a lot of conversations because this division is going to be a meat grinder. It was a meat grinder already this year. Dude, who knows what's going to happen with Toronto? We don't know. Whatever. Boston, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. All I know is that those two teams were the top two teams in the division. Tampa Bay, well, they get an extra month and a half of rest.
Yeah.
They're probably not going to lose a lot of people. They're going to be probably nasty again next year. And then you look behind them, Ottawa. Well, if Ottawa needs a goalie, if Ottawa gets a goalie, they're going to be pretty damn good. Montreal's going to get more mature. They could be a tough team next year. Florida might be in the Stanley Cup final. I keep forgetting to talk about them. They ran over Boston. They ran over Toronto. Like, they're pretty damn good. So, I mean, the division's going to be wicked, and you have, like, goaltending sticks out so hard for this team as something to fix up that adding a guy like Hellebuyck changes that conversation completely. You no longer worry about it, and now you start talking about where in the top four can Buffalo finish in the division, because they have the offense that can do it. They had a top 5 offense in the NHL. You add a goaltender that can stop everything and change. Jesus, I don't know what his war was. Goalie war is a weird thing, but I don't know how many more wins he adds as opposed to what they brought. But whatever it is, it's a positive amount. It's definitely
miss the playoffs by 2 points. I mean,
right. So if he changes the discussion by like 3 or 4 wins, maybe that's a huge swing, man.
Sure.
Like that's 6-8 extra points, and you're talking about a team that's got 98, 99, maybe 100 points. That's a huge difference.
Let me ask you this though. So part of the problem, I mean, it's accepted. I don't even think it's debatable that Hellebuyck would be a huge upgrade. He's your number one goalie. There's nothing to discuss. The guy might, he's not going to, but he's a Vezina finalist again. He's one of the best goalies in the NHL. There's not even a debate with that. But you look at his contract, which the money's not a big deal either. Who cares what the money is when it comes to the Sabres right now? But he's only got 1 year left on his contract. So I guess what I'm asking you too is, if you're going to trade for him, is there like different levels of compensation you're willing to give up? Like, if you're getting a guy and he's willing to resign or extend for, he's going to be your goalie. He signs a 2-year extension and now you got him for 3 years. Does that open up the vault to potentially give up a guy like maybe, I don't know about Middlestad. I hate even saying that, but maybe some good draft picks, like a 1st round pick, something else, maybe even an Isaac Rosine. That's a guy that you've mentioned as a potential, good trade chip. Obviously Olofsson, but I don't think they would be interested in that because the article mentions cost controlled type players that they would want. But anyway, that would be for somebody that you're going to get for 3 years, 4 years, at least 3 for sure. What are you willing to give up? Like, let's say that this is true and the Jets are willing to listen to offers for Hellebuyck and the Sabres are interested, but you don't know that you're going to be able to sign him for an extension. Like, how far are you willing to go in terms of what you're willing to give up to go get a guy like that for potentially only 1 year?
Well, here's the problem. If you're talking about extending him and people are going to be like, well, he'll be 31. You can't ask for that much, right? Sergei Bobrovsky got his 7-year, $70 million contract signed at age 31 as a free agent. So there's your bar. Like, $10 million a year for a goalie is your bar. If we're keeping everything in check. Bobrovsky won two Vezinas. we get it. Like he's on a heater right now. That's unbelievable. Like
Sure.
it's it's all these different factors where it's like, yeah, that's probably where the money comes in, because that's what the goalies cost. I think that's an immediate non-starter for Buffalo. There's no shot. There's no shot they're going to pay only $10 million. No way, no how, no shot. If you're going into it knowing that you're just going to be playing him for 1 year to get you over the hump and can maybe buy a year so that Levi gets to learn from him.
Right. Yep.
Play behind him, get 30, 40 games, maybe, like whatever the deal. Probably like 35 games is what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what you're going into thinking about it, and like that's all Winnipeg cares about in a trade. They don't care if you're going to sign him for forever after that. They don't give a shit.
Right.
He left on his deal, whatever. He's your problem after that. That cost, I mean, it's going to cost you Luukkonen. Like that's automatic. Luukkonen, or I mean, Comrie, I guess. Although that doesn't make any sense. But it's going to cost you Luukkonen more than likely.
A first rounder.
Who else you give up? I mean, probably a first rounder, which I think at this point you can live with it for Buffalo. I think this year is probably the last time they're going to get a pick this high up at 13 to be able to add one more juicy piece to the cupboard. But if you trade first with Winnipeg and just, slide down a few, like another 10 picks or whatever, whatever Winnipeg's picking at, whatever, who cares? Fine. Like you don't care about that. The player is the bigger deal. I think if it's if they want a proven guy who's cost controlled, then like Middlestat makes a ton of sense. He's evolved. He's a very good player now. And he's making whatever he's making now. And then he's still an RFA after this. I think it's next season, whatever it is. Like they can pay him whatever, figure it out on your own. That's their problem. But if they want younger, I mean, you got a bunch of guys.
Krebs. They mentioned Krebs.
Krebs is interesting because I think the idea there for Winnipeg would be that they can add Krebs and play him higher in the lineup than he's playing in Buffalo right now, and think that, yes, that will work. Which, I mean, hey, it probably will work. I mean, he's going to be a much better player again next year. And he was already really good this year, but he's going to be much better next year. But you want kind of a proven commodity. You don't really want to go for a Roseanne or even a Savoy. Like Savoy played in Winnipeg. Like they probably saw him play up close more than a few times, but you don't know what he's going to be at the NHL level at. You know what Krebs is going to be. You know what Middlestat's going to be. Like you get it. The catch is that the Sabres also know what they are, and they have an idea what they are, and they're already pieces on their team. Like that's where the pain comes in and trying to make a trade like that. But is it impossible to make that trade? No, it is not. Like Sabres have enough ammo for trades to trade for literally anybody. Like if there is a big enough fish out there where they're like Connor McDavid wants a trade, if Buffalo wants to get him, well, they can cough up everything in the world to make it happen if they wanted to. They're not going to do that though, because they've got Thompson, they got Dylan. They're fine. Like they don't need to do things like that. But Connor Hellebuyck, change your mind a little bit and say like, all right, well, we've got the pieces you're looking for. He's only got a year left on his deal, so we're not going to give you the whole farm. But if
Winnipeg calls you on the phone and you are Kevin Adams and you get to make the decision, Joe, and then they say, all right, I'm gonna give you Hellebuyck. You're going to give me that first round pick. You're going to give me UPL, obviously, and you're going to give me either Krebs or Middlestat. Are you making that trade? No, you don't know what the future is going to hold. You might only have him for 1 year. You might be able to re-sign him, give him big money for 2 years. But when you mentioned the long-term deal, if you're Hellebuyck, I don't know, you probably got one more really good contract in you after this one. You know what I'm saying? So he might not want to sign just a 2-year deal or an extension.
No, he wants max. I would, if I bet anything, he wants either, if he's getting it on the market, he's getting 7, or if he gets it with where he's staying, he gets 8. Either way, he's getting max because he's 31. You're not going to take a 2-year deal at 31.
Absolutely. And you're Kevin Adams now. So you know all this information, and that's the offer. You're giving me UPL a first, and either take your pick, Middlestat or Krebs. I want one of those two guys. Are you trading them for a Hellebuyck?
I think you can. It'll hurt. But I think you can, because then because I look at it as how it affects your lineup as is. You give up Krebs, you give up Middlestat. Okay, that's one of your, middle 6 center winger types because both guys have played both sides. Krebs is better at center. I think Middlestad's as good at center as he is on the wing. Honestly, I saw enough both positions to show that he can handle both. But then you're looking at down the road, and Adam said he doesn't want the team to get younger, but like, is he comfortable giving up Savoy? Probably not. Is he comfortable giving up Ostlund? Probably not. Maybe. Kulik? Hell no. Like, that's not happening. Rosane? Probably it would hurt him a lot to do that. So, but the fact that you move one of those guys would open up a spot painfully on your own roster to get one of those younger guys also back in there. That softens the blow of moving one of those guys. And I think that's that's why you have all these players. You have all these prospects. You have all these young guys so that if you do move one to get a big piece that you need, yeah, it sucks. Maybe that guy becomes a great player wherever else he goes, but you're getting the guy that you believe is going to be able to take you to the next level, to take you into the playoffs, to win you rounds in the playoffs and go for a cup. Like Hellebuyck's pretty close to being that guy that can take you deep. Winnipeg's a weird team because they've had some great offensive players, but they didn't score any damn goals, and they lacked a lot of depth with at all positions. But Sabres team seems to have a lot of depth at the positions that Winnipeg didn't have. They play a different kind of game, so it's really tempting. It's super tempting. And I'll say this for Hellebuyck, I think I do it for Hellebuyck. Yeah. I think I do it for UC Saros. Saros is not a guy that's coming up in those conversations, but I would do it for him too.
I don't feel informed enough. I don't know enough to really have a strong opinion on if I would do it, but I would say that I would project that fans probably, it would be close to a split, but I would say fans would lean towards being against it. And part of the reason is seeing how good Middlestad and Krebs looked last year at times, and also a sample size. But I think people maybe a little bit too oversold now on Devin Levi based on what we saw at the end of the year. They might be like, you're going to give up, all these good prospects or a good young player for a goal when we got a number one goalie. We already have one. Why do we got to go trade and give up a lot to give one? I could see at least some fans feeling some sort of way.
Sure.
I would probably, and again, I'm not going to sit here and act like I know their pipeline well. I know the players. I know their names. I read other people's opinions and kind of form my own. I don't watch them with my own two eyes or anything like that. But maybe I would, if Ostlund was the price instead of Middlestad or Krebs, like if it was Ostlund at first and UPL, then I think I would do it. And I don't know a lot of other.
I would sign that paperwork instantaneously.
Yeah,
honestly. And that's not a knock on Ostlund.
I mean, he's a first round pick just a year ago. I mean, so he probably has some appeal, I would imagine anyway.
He absolutely does.
Sure.
But he's a center. He's a true center. So like, if you're going to trade out a center, you want to keep a center, but like Savoy's a center too.
Sure.
Savoy's probably going to be better on the wing just because of his size, but like, make it work. You can make it work. You have enough guys to make it work.
It'll be fun to monitor this. And it's fun that a premier goalie in the league, that the Sabres have arrived to the point that they can even be somewhat connected to a goalie like that who can help you, like you said, get you over that hump and get you into the postseason next year. It'll be fun. Last question, and then I want to talk about a couple other things here. Let's just say that they don't get Hellebuyck. Let's just say that either he doesn't want to come here, or he says, I'm not signing a long-term deal to come here, or he just doesn't want to come here, or the Sabres just aren't willing to pay what Winnipeg is asking for, and someone else is willing to pay more. So for whatever reason, it doesn't work out. Without naming a specific, and maybe, over the next couple of weeks before free agency and stuff like that, we'll hit on a couple other alternative goalie possibilities. But do you see them potentially trying to trade UPL and having a more veteran goalie to maybe split the load or maybe even play a little bit more this year than Devin Levi? Do you see the Sabres having a different goalie combination to start next year other than Levi and UPL?
Yes, I do. Yeah. I think they have to. I don't think they're. I know that everything that they've said says that like they would be okay with doing that. I don't buy it for a second. I do not buy it for a second that they would be cool with doing Levi and Luukkonen to start the year, Levi and Comrie to start the. I don't buy it. I don't buy it for a second because they realize the position they're in. They poo-pooed everything about, if next year's a, must win. I know my pal John attacked them about how this was a missed opportunity this year. They were like, what are you talking about? That's crazy. But they know. And we asked them point blank if they got to be in the playoffs next year. And they're like, no, we're going to keep, we got to keep progressing. We got to keep doing our thing. It's like, the progression is making the playoffs.
Exactly.
That's the progression. Like that's
it's backwards if you don't. Yeah.
Right. So, and the biggest question they have is goaltending. The second biggest question is Henry Jokiharju your number 2 defenseman to play with Owen Power, which my answer is no, which means you're going to go find somebody to be that player as well. But goaltending, if they don't do anything with goaltending in this offseason, it's going to be very uncomfortable in training camp. It's going to be extremely uncomfortable in training camp because everybody's going to be like, oh, we're really going to run the kid out there. Okay, we're doing this. All right, well, let's get crazy. But the second something slips up or a guy gets hurt or, Levi gets thrown into the Wolves and maybe he struggles a little bit, then you're just like, oh my God, we're playing, we're walking a high wire without a net. That's the spot you don't want to be in if you're Adams because at each of his years as GM, and he's done a great job, flat out great job. Goaltending's been not an area of strength because it's something's eluded him in one way or another. Obviously, the Olmark thing was a whole other thing. Like there was some kind of mix up there. Probably, I mean, hindsight, he should have traded him at the deadline. Whatever, shit happens. But like even this past year, like. Comrie is like, hey, yeah, nice guy, great guy. Maybe he's got to get an opportunity to play here, and then it just didn't work. He got hurt, didn't work, and it's like, okay, well, who's behind him? And it's like, well, it's UPL again, and we kind of forced him right to Rochester immediately, and told him, all right, man, just work it out there. And then he came back up, and it's like, well, I guess you're here now. Like everything about it that with UPL has been done to like get him games in Rochester, and it's never played out that way. Like. It played out that way 2 years ago, but then he got hurt right before the playoffs started. So, it's something's gotten in the way there every time. So I can't see them ignoring goaltending this year.
I agree.
Trading Luukkonen. I mean, if it's going to be part of it, I assume it's going to be. Because if you're going to bring in somebody, you're bringing a veteran. That team giving up the veteran is going to want a younger guy. And I don't know if Comrie or Luukkonen's the guy, but I have to imagine Luukkonen's probably the guy.
Sure. I agree with you. I think at the end of the day, and we'll see how it plays out. I think Hellebuyck, I think the price might be too much that the Sabres are willing to pay for a guy who's only going to be there for 1 year. Maybe they'd like to get a better 1B or 2 goalie for maybe 2 to 3 years. So I don't think it's going to be Hellebuyck, but I'd like to see them do something better than, and no disrespect to him because he did play he had a lot of good things off the ice about him too, but Craig Anderson, like hopefully they'll do better. Someone they can depend on more than that. We'll see how that plays out. But anyway, around hockey, so Toronto loses, so they're out again. Sabres fans, I'm sure, rejoice. Vegas won. Sabres fan not rejoicing over that.
Well, maybe Oilers losing. Maybe they lose.
Yeah, possibly. By the way, Edmonton gone. Our friends north of the border here. That's 30 years now that Canada will not have won a Stanley Cup. And you brought up something. We were chit chatting for just a few minutes before we hit the record button here. We're like one series away from things going their way from a Jack Eichel versus Sam Reinhart Stanley Cup final. Man, some Sabres fans, their heads might explode at the thought of that.
Yeah, that's. I don't want Buffalo to become the hockey market where everything becomes about Buffalo. Like Toronto's kind of that way. Like, oh, how does this affect the Leafs? Well, none of this affects the Sabres. It just looks really bad in hindsight. It's the only thing. Like, oh, these 2 guys that you couldn't wait to get out of town. Like within 2 years, both go to the Stanley Cup final. Like, that's a little tough. That's a little tough, especially because the Panthers roster is like a quarter former Sabres. Granted, only 2 of them really matter. And no offense to Zach Dalby or Eric Stahl. Well, some offense to Eric Stahl, but like for Reinhart and Montour, like those are guys that could have built around. I keep thinking, imagine Brandon Montour playing next to Owen Power. Boy, that would have been cool. He was only like one of the top 5 scorers on defense this year. Hey, that would have been nice. But I mean, and like even even Vegas, like Eichel's the guy, but like Braden McNabb, William Carrier, those are two old farmhand guys, young guys that came up with the team. Like it's a couple ex Sabres. There's ex Sabres on every team except for I think maybe Carolina. Carolina is the only one that doesn't have any, but nobody in Buffalo is cheering for him. So like, whatever.
Switching gears quickly here to football. And by the way, I want to remind people on tomorrow's podcast, I got Aaron Quinn with me, and we'll have a much deeper dive into this topic. But real quick, I saw something on Twitter where I can't even remember the outlet, but they were talking about each team's biggest positional weak link. And I started thinking about the Bills. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. And this is not being I'm not a homer when it comes to the Bills. At least not on this show. I'm not anyway. I'm not often anyway. I'm a fan, but I'm not a homer. Like I will blast the living shit out of them when I feel like it's deserved. But anyway, I like this roster, and there's not a lot of quote unquote weak links on this roster. Quarterback, no explanation needed. Running back, and I'm flying through these real quick. Again, I want to get your take on this, but I'll talk with Aaron more about this tomorrow as well. Running backs, look, Damian Harris is pretty good. James Cook's got a lot of upside. I don't think it's a weak link. Wide receiver, say what you want about the depth, but you got Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, who's capable of big things. They got a good tight end, and they drafted one in the first round. Defensive tackles, Ed Oliver's pretty good. DeQuan Jones, I love Poona Ford. Defensive tackles, pretty solid. Linebackers, yeah, they're a mess at middle linebacker right now, but you only got to play two linebackers, and your other linebacker is a first-team All-Pro. He's literally was one of the best two linebackers in the NFL last year. So I don't know how you call that position a weak link. Corners pretty strong. Trey White, assuming he's back all the way. Kyrie Elam, first-round pick last year. They got good Teron Johnson, one of the best slot corners in the NFL. And then safety. Look, long-term, it's a weak position. Right now, though, give me Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer healthy for a year, and I love that position. The only position I could come up with, Joe, where I'm like, all right, I think this might be the weak link in this team, is offensive line. Mitch Morse is a good center, gets hurt too much. He has concussion issues. You got a rookie very likely starting in Torrance, and if not, you got Ryan Bates, who's I almost feel like he's a super utility player. Like I don't know if he's a starter. He's a great reserve. He can play a lot of different positions. But anyway, you got McGovern from Dallas, who's all right. Deion Dawkins has been a Pro Bowl, but personally, I think he's a little bit overrated. I hate saying it that way. I don't think he's bad. I think he's a pretty good offensive tackle. I just don't think he's one of the best left tackles in the NFL. So that's where I'm going with that. And then you got Spencer Brown, who looked really bad last year and struggled a lot. And Brandon Beane defended him. And then he backed it up with his actions because they did not sign a right tackle and they did not draft one. You kind of feel the same way. Like if you had to pinpoint a positional weakness on this team, it would be offensive line. I didn't mention defensive line, by the way, only because Von Miller will be back. But if that would probably be my second pick. Greg Rousseau looks good, but they got a bunch of question marks after him. So it's one of those two, somewhere in the trenches. That would be where the Bills probably are weakest on paper anyway, right?
Yeah. I'm with you. The O-line sticks out to me again. I thought, some of the moves they made last year, I was like, okay, yeah, I see where you're going with this. All right. And I think everybody thought Saffold was going to be decent, not
right.
Hide your eyes awful. And I think the assumption was that Brown was going to, take a step, because he was pretty solid that first year. Then it was not so good last year. And then, there's injuries, there's all kinds of, stuff, Dawkins, I think Dawkins got attacked a lot by opposing defenses where there's kind of like, let's overwhelm this guy. He can't take everybody. And I don't know. You go back and watch that Cincinnati playoff game and you just see the way the line just gets chewed up, every play. And, I get all the, the reasons everybody said why they had a bad game. I get it. But I think back to a couple years ago when Joe Burrow is getting flushed out of the pocket every play and getting, chased down every play and getting hit every other play. What did Cincinnati do? They went out and grabbed like 3 O-linemen immediately. Kansas City had their O-line fall apart completely, and losing the Super Bowl to Tampa. What did they do? Got like 4 guys immediately.
Spent a lot of money.
Again. We're not doing that again because like, yeah, okay, Allen can run. Like, that's cool. Mahomes can run too. Burrow can kind of run. I mean, they're not it's not game breaking speed from either of them. Like Allen
Right.
can do that, but like your fallback option can't be like, well, he can get out of it.
Yeah.
Like that, that can't be your motivation for picking out an offensive line, being like, well, we can kind of, let some things slide here because we know Allen can get out of that. If anything's been proven the last couple of years is that you don't want Allen doing that. You want him being able to stand in the pocket and throw. You want, like, if he can get out of trouble, once every couple sets down, it's like, okay, fine. Like that's just the league. But man, he's your biggest investment. Like keep him standing upright, keep him not having to run constantly. Don't let him be your run game.
Right.
And like so much about it is just, it just blows my mind that like the O-line isn't like the main thing that they attacked right away. Like, I mean, get Von Miller, great, cool. The defense, that's awesome. Take care of Poyer, great, cool. That's great. Other areas have question marks. Like I think there's questionable depth all around, but the O-line, man, I look at it, I don't, Morse, like you said, Morse is great, but like he's probably going to miss 2, 3, 4 games every year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of that spot, and I don't know. That's you're spending the most money on the quarterback. You want to keep the quarterback playing at his peak, and the way you do that is to have a good line in front of him, and they just don't.
Yeah, and look, man, you have to pick. I'm not saying the Bills, and I don't think you are. The Bills' offensive line is not garbage. It's okay, but you got to pick a weak point of this team, the weakest positional group, and that's where I land on. I am disappointed that they didn't draft a right tackle early. I really thought they should have taken somebody to push Spencer Brown, and and again, we're basing this on what we saw last year. It does appear that they're trying to get more physical. They draft a big right guard. They take a tight end who's basically going to be a big slot. They will play more 2 tight end sets now. So we'll see how it goes going forward. But right now, anyway, I would say that that's their biggest positional weakness. Quickly here, Detroit Lions fan here, Joe Yerdon. I got a fun fact for you, man.
Okay.
Ready? The betting favorite to win the NFC North this year is, drumroll, the Detroit Lions are the Vegas betting favorite, plus 145. The Vikings are at plus 310, and then Chicago and Green Bay are both at plus 350, 3.5 to 1. So yeah, man, not even quite 1.5 to 1. The Detroit Lions, your 2023 preseason NFC favorites. How does it make you feel, man? Not good, probably.
No, talk is cheap, man. Like talk is so cheap. I listen. They've had a nice offseason. They've had a really nice offseason. Don't get it twisted. It's very hard for me to buy into it. Like it
feels weird.
This is so many years of having it just ingrained in my head of like they're gonna screw it up. Like it's gonna fall apart. Like I was having this discussion with a couple of hockey heads on Twitter about. They were talking about, find a team more tortured than I think, what was it? I think, were they talking about the Maple Leafs or something? Or the Oakland A's. They were like, find a franchise more haunted than the A's. And somebody, not me, said, the Detroit Lions say hello. And I'm like, yeah. Everybody else is fighting for second for a more haunted, awful franchise. And they're like, oh my God, that's right. I'm like, and then again, not me pointing it out, saying like, well, they've won one playoff game since 1961. And I go, they've won one playoff game since 1957. Let's get it right. And that playoff game was 31 years ago. Like, come on, man. Like the only teams that I'll give a nod to that are as bad or maybe worse off than the Lions are the Cleveland Browns, but nobody feels bad for the Browns anymore after giving Deshaun Watson a giant, massive contract. It's like,
fully guaranteed.
Art Modell was right for pulling you guys out of there. Go to hell, you guys. But like, even them, like, geez, I mean, at least like Cincinnati got off the schneid where they had won a playoff game less recently than the Lions had. It was like 89 before they won. Well, last year, it was last year where they finally won a playoff game, and it was like, wow, first time since 89. And I'm like, wow, Detroit back at the bottom. Cool. That's neat. Love that. They were the one team that was propping them up with Cincinnati. And it was like, even them I've watched in the Super Bowl, and they've been in a couple Super Bowls. So like, cool.
I'm telling you, dude, I'm on board with Detroit this year. I like them a lot. It kind of reminds me a little bit, in a way, of the Bills, man. That long playoff drought, thought they would never get back again. And Then they became good. I just see it coming with Detroit. The opportunity
See,
is certainly there. The opportunity is
yeah.
absolutely there.
Oh, it's 100% there. I'm glad. Well, I'm not glad you mentioned the Bills draft thing. And people before the Bills became like what they are now, people would be like, "Oh no, Bills had it way worse than Detroit. Detroit made the playoffs." I go, "Yeah, and they got embarrassed in every single game. Like every single time they were in there, they lost and got them." Like the Bounty Bowl Saints tried to murder Matthew Stafford. Like everybody was kind of like, "Oh yeah, how'd the Saints get caught on that?" I was like, "They tried to kill Matthew Stafford on the turf in New Orleans. That's how that got caught."
Yeah.
And like. And I had to point out the stat one time. I was like, how many playoff games do you think the Bills have won since the Lions last had a playoff game? And that's including the 17, 18-year drought. And they're like, oh, it's got to be pretty close. I go, no, it's like 8 or 9-1 Bills. And they missed the playoffs for 18 years in that meantime. Like, guys, you don't have it that bad. Yeah, I know missing the playoffs sucks. It's bad. It's terrible. But so is watching your team make the playoffs, get their teeth kicked in, and then have the league just be like, "Oh yeah, they tried to murder everybody on your team." Well, we'll show them. We'll suspend them for a year. Like, cool, thanks, guys.
Well, I anticipated and am hopeful, of course, that we'll be talking Bills playoff football come next January, and it would be nice to be able to throw Detroit in there and talk about them.
I really want to. Like, if cool, like, if they make the playoffs, cool. Win a game, please. Just even if it's disappointing to win one game and then lose in the next round, great, cool. Just win a game, win a goddamn game for the first time since I was 12.
All right, we're going to end with the segment that we debuted last week. It's called "Make Me Choose." Pretty simple. I am giving Joe 2 candidates in a related field, and quite simply, he's just got to choose one. His preference here. Not a lot of like deep thought required. And Joe is hearing these the same time. Like I said last week, sometimes we do some stuff and I'd kind of tell you what we're going to be doing so you can prepare for it a little bit. This, he's got no idea, no earthly idea. He's hearing these the same time as you do. So I got 6 of them for you, 2 candidates. You give me your winner. Let's start with this one should probably be pretty hard. Wrestling, the Attitude Era, I think for both of us, probably our favorite era of wrestling. Stone Cold versus The Rock. Pick one. Choose one. Make me choose.
I was way more of a Rock fan.
Yeah?
Listen, don't get me wrong. Stone Cold's awesome. Love them. He was great. I was way more of a Rock fan. Rock was such a better shit talker. Yeah. And like the swagger, the cockiness, like everything about it was just like, dude, he was the one guy that like every time he would come out and he didn't need to be wrestling. He just had to come out and just give him the mic, let him roll. No, I was firmly a Rocky guy, even though Austin's amazing. Sure. Both guys, their stories are incredible. How they came up, everybody hated Rocky. Rocky Maivia was like vehemently hated by fans, and then he just started talking shit, and then everybody's like, "Oh, this guy's amazing."
Yep.
Austin, the Hollywood Blondes and WCW, Stunning Steve Austin, all that shit, and then he just comes out and just starts whooping everybody's ass, and it was great. It was awesome, but like, man, I'm firmly a guy for The Rock, but like, it's a hard choice. I made it sound easy. It's a hard choice, but I'm pro Rocky.
So am I. I'm pro Rock as well. Love Stone Cold, obviously. Just every now and then the stuff with him and Vince would get a little bit tired. It's like, all right, here we go again. Rock stuff felt like his angles, there were more of them. It just felt a little more fresh. So I'm Team Rock as well. 2 legendary actors here. Al Pacino versus Robert De Niro. These aren't meant to be easy. If I do my job right, that means that you have to think on these for a quick second.
See, what kills me with these is that so much of like the recency, it's not biased because most of the stuff they've done, like both of these guys have done recently, haven't been that very good. So you got to think about it in like the meat of everything that they did that was great. I lean Pacino because I mean Pacino got to be like kind of cartooned, like became kind of a cartoon later on in his career, but like just all the shouting, the blah 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 blah. But like I don't know, man. There was such a long run of where if you told me Pacino's in the movie, I'm like, oh, okay, all right, let's see what this is about. Whereas, and this is I'm not knocking De Niro. De Niro's incredible, and De Niro's done some really. Like I mean, going back like mid 80s, late 80s, early 90s, he did some stuff where you're just kind of like, whoa, this dude did this. I'm like, all right, that's pretty impressive. like once he started getting into like the analyze this or the mafia one with Ben Stiller.
Oh, no,
Um,
Meet the
what was that?
Parents. That
Meet
you
the
talking about the
Parents.
Meet the
Yeah,
Parents
yeah,
one?
yeah, yeah. That like I get it. Like everybody got to cash a check. I understand. So I get it. But like I don't know, man. Like he started making more of those kinds of movies, and then by the time The Irishman came out, it was kind of like, dude, like I don't
Sure.
need a 3 hour movie about, I mean, The Irishman was fine. I didn't think it was an Oscar worthy movie, but like, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I didn't think it was his best. He got nominated. Like everybody got nominated for that movie. I just didn't think it was that great of a movie. So like, whatever.
So you lean Pacino then?
Pacino, yeah.
You pick Pacino. All right. I would probably flip a coin. Probably would say De Niro. If I would ask you this question 20 years ago, this would have been an all-time barn burner. It would have been
Oh
so hard because
God,
they were such legends. I agree with you. As time goes on and they make sillier cash grab movies when they get older, it kind of waters it down a little
Yeah.
bit. But still, two of the
For me,
greatest ever.
the peak though is when they're both together in the same scene in Heat.
Yeah.
And Heat is a top 5 movie as far as I'm concerned. Like that is an all-time incredible movie, like an all-time cast, and those two guys both just bring it hard in that movie. And like Pacino is so good in that movie. De Niro's great too. So is Val Kilmer. So is everybody in that movie. Everybody's great in that movie.
I remember we
was so damn good.
We did when we had one of our drafts. I remember you took that really high in one of our drafts. All right. So TV sports play-by-play, Jim Nantz or Joe Buck?
Ooh. Everybody hates Joe Buck. And I kind of get it. I kind of understand. Like it's, he's on every call. I'm gonna say Jim Nantz. What am I saying? Jim Nantz. No, I'm saying Jim Nantz because he's so level and Buck's good. I can't get the video and the highlight out of my head where he's shaming Randy Moss for fake mooning fans in Lambeau Field, which I'm like, dude, everybody wants to do that. Everybody wants to actually moon fans in Green Bay. And like Randy Moss was just kind of like, whatever, kiss my ass, guys. Like, yeah, amazing. Instead, he's just like, I apologize to the people at home. Just shut up, please. Jim Nantz never had to do any of that stuff. Like, come on.
I lean Jim Nantz as well. I would have picked him. All right, 2 hockey icons. Maybe this will be easy. Maybe it won't. I don't know. Wayne Gretzky versus Mario Lemieux.
I'm Gretzky.
Yeah.
I figured
that.
I've been on that war has raged online for ages. Mario is an unbelievable player. He was a mold breaker. He was a massive guy. Like everybody forgets how big Mario was. He was like 6'4", 200 whatever pounds. Like a freak of nature. Nobody was that big playing center in the league, and he just scored constantly. But Gretzky's the guy where the NHL was like, hey, get him in California, we can expand. And they did. And then all these teams popped up. Like,
sure.
I mean, Mario do that? Like, I mean, Mario could have done that, I guess, but like, and I'm not going to hold Mario's health stuff against him. Like, that's just stupid. Like injuries, he had, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, all that stuff, like whatever. He's an incredible athlete, incredible player. I'm happy to say I've gotten to see Mario play it live and in person, like when he was actually in the league. I never got to see Gretzky. Saw Gretzky on TV a gazillion times. When he got traded out of Edmonton, I was like 10 years old. I hated it, hated him for it. But then I was like, oh, dude, this guy rules. Like he was amazing. And I know like people get shitty on Gretzky now because it's like, well, nobody was a good goalie back then. Nobody could play, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, the guy still put up 217 points in a season. Like everybody was bad, but he was the best. Like he was the best by miles and miles and miles. And Mario was the only guy that really came close.
Yeah, I agree, man.
I will give Mario credit though. He was the first guy people openly tanked for, and Pittsburgh did it. Pittsburgh and New Jersey were both like right in the running, like to get the number 1 pick. And Jersey was like, no. Lou Lamoriello was like, no, we're not gonna do that. Pittsburgh was like, yeah, we'll see you at the bottom, guys. Later, we'll have Mario. Changed everything.
Look, man, I love Mario as well, dude. All-time great player. And I know some people out there would definitely pick him and say that he was the more talented or better all-around player, but fuck that. I'm not going against Wayne Gretzky. Simple as that. All right, 2 more here. You could have your pick here. You can either live in a pro sports town, like say, for an example, Buffalo. Just use an example. Don't have to be Buffalo, but a team where it's a pro sports town. You got your
Mhm.
NHL team, you got your NBA team, or you can live in a big time college town, like
Ooh.
say South Bend or something like that, where Notre Dame is religion. So you can live either in a town that, is mainly a pro sports town, or and they don't have, and college ain't shit there, or
Yeah.
you can live in a town where it's all about the college and they really don't even care that much about pro sports.
No, pro sports town for me. Like I
Yeah.
used to love college sports like big time. Big. I used to be a huge college football fan,
Mhm.
college basketball, all that stuff. And then you get a little bit older and you start seeing the business side of things happening more, and everybody's just being shitty about like student athletes and stuff. It's just like, what the hell's wrong with this thing? This is gross. At
Yeah.
least pro sports is very upfront about like, yeah, no, people are getting paid and just we do whatever it takes to win. Like, okay, cool. College, it was all done with this fake front of like, oh, these are amateur players. They're doing it for the love of the game. And I'm like, yeah, and you guys are making billions off their backs, you clowns. Get out of my face. Pro sports, a hot pro sports city is an unreal vibe. Like any like Buffalo when the Bills are going is nuts. Like Sabres, wait till the Sabres get the playoffs, man. Like this,
Oh, I know. I can't wait.
Spring and summer is going to be wild here. But like, I mean, Jesus, I know New York City's, you can't compare anything to New York City, but like, dude, when the Knicks started winning games in the playoffs, the whole city is just like, oh shit, here we go, Knicks. And like, it sets the rest of the country on fire with it because people either love the Knicks or they friggin' hate them. Same with the Yankees. Mets are tend to be a little bit more beloved than the Yankees, for obvious reasons. But like any of those teams get in, it's kind of like, all right. Like it commands your attention.
Sure.
Like it absolutely dominates your attention. So like a big pro sports city is way, way better.
I completely agree with you, but I also think that we might have some bias based on where we live and where we grew up. I'm telling you now, I spent 5 years in Florida, and I promise you 75% of Floridians would say college over pros. But so I do think it matters in our case, and I agree with you. I'm 100% here, pro sports town. All right, one more. 2 different types of singers, but female singers, iconic ones too. Stevie Nicks or Ann Wilson from Heart.
Both amazing voices. I got to go Stevie Nicks. Like Ann Wilson's a great rock voice. Like that's a great rock voice, and like she's snuck in on some like grunge stuff too. Like there's like there's an Alice in Chains track from like one of their EPs that she's on where it's kind of like, oh shit, okay, sneaking in Ann Wilson there, just because it's like Seattle and they're like, yeah, whatever, just get in there, you own this song. But Stevie Nicks to it, like it's just a massive talent, just a massive personality, just everything about her is just cool as shit. Like all the witchy stuff, like spooky, like whatever, man, that's cool as hell. And then, I mean, obviously all the drama with Fleetwood Mac and everything was wild, but but even like her on her solo stuff's incredible. Like that's what really wins it for me, is that she was just able to do it and like she just crushed everything. So yeah, Stevie Nicks for me.
I think our friend on Twitter, Taylor,
She would definitely
I think she would kick the shit out of you if you would have picked if you would have not picked Stevie Nicks. I'm telling, everything you said is true, but I still, just something about Ann Wilson and that power in her voice, man. It does it for me. One of my favorite, not just female, just one of my favorite power singers of all time. Period. So
are you gonna go see Nancy Wilson's Heart up at she's playing at one of the casinos, I think, sometime?
I didn't even know about it. You know what I am going to see?
Billboard.
You know what I am going to see? I just bought tickets this week. We're getting out of here now. Bryan Adams, he's coming to the KeyBank Center. It's $25, dude. They have some kind of concert week or something. $25 tickets for a bunch of concerts. And one of them was Bryan Adams with Joan Jett opening up as well. I bought tickets for my wife just on Saturday. She sent me the link. 2 minutes later, I got them. Section 121 too. Like, these are pretty good seats, man. Wow. $50 for 2 seats. So my man, Bryan Adams, I'm pumped to go see that.
That's cool.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's going to do it for this show. By the way, make sure you go to notedhockey.com and subscribe to Joe's Noted Hockey, man. $5 per month. Cannot go wrong. Check out Main Estate Podcast. Joe alongside Lance Lazowski of the Buffalo News. When they drop it, go on Joe's Twitter. They always got links up there at Joe Yerdon. Thanks, buddy. Always fun talking to you, man.
Yeah, it was a good show. Good times and good talking. And yeah, glad you got me to kind of like sound off about the Lions a little bit, because Jesus, it's gonna be a long season already, I can tell.
Talk to you guys tomorrow. Aaron Quinn from Cover One will be on with me.